Football Club could face a points deduction from the Premier League after an investigation has now been started, after self-reporting, handing themselves in, if you were, over the transfers of Willian and Samuel Eto'o from a decade ago. This comes only a few months after Chelsea reported themselves for financial fair play breaches. And they were fined £8.6 million in the latter part of July and early August of 2003. We're going to delve into this in more detail and kind of go through those stories, but it's the second investigation, allegation, if you like, of Chelsea potentially cheating and breaching rules. Now, I will stress, this is nothing to do with the new owners. None of these alleged breaches, none of these alleged misgoings are anything to do with the new management, the new ownership, the new board that are in charge of Chelsea. But the Premier League and the governing bodies around football look at these situations as the entity. It's the same entity, even though it has new owners. And the headlines across multiple outlets like the Times and the Mirror and Sky states that Chelsea may face a point deduction from the Premier League, which would be devastating as they try to climb back up the league table, develop more confidence, and improve so much on what was a harrowing and poor, devastating season in the 22-23 campaign, the first year of Todd Boehly's reign, which saw Tuchel and Graham Potter both sacked as managers. So to delve into this story in a little bit more detail, it reads here that Chelsea could be deducted points by the Premier League after self-reporting alleged secret payments related to the transfers of Willian and Samuel Eto'o, two players who were very pivotal for trophies and success that Chelsea generated when they arrived at the football club. He says the Premier League is looking into alleged financial breaches at Chelsea, which were reported to the authorities by Todd Boehly's consortium once they took over the club in May 2022. The new owners brought the Blues from Roman Abramovich after the UK government sanctioned the oligarch following the Russians' invasion of the Ukraine. It says here that Chelsea were previously fined $8.6 million by UEFA for submitting incomplete financial information between 2012 and 2019. The Times reports that things could be about to get much worse with the transfers of William and Eto'o from the Russian side. I'm actually going to struggle to pronounce that with my dyslexia. I should have run it through Google Translate before, but I didn't. In August 2013, now under the microscope. It says the financial reports allegedly show that payments were made by Chelsea to offshore companies and Russian entities separate to any transfer fee. William was signed for $30 million, just months after the Russian side bought the Brazilian winger from Shakhtar Donetsk for the same fee, while Eto'o came on a free transfer. So essentially what the allegations are is that Chelsea on paper paid $30 million and Chelsea got Eto'o for free. But allegedly, and this has been reported by Chelsea, that there were offshore payments to other entities and Russian entities that they now believe were actually higher payments for Willian and a payment for Samuel Eto'o, so he wasn't free. And the allegation is that this was to avoid, which came into play from the 2013-14 season, financial fair play regulation. So this helped Chelsea buy and purchase these brilliant players for them outside of the rules that everybody in European football had agreed to work with him. It says here there is no suggestion that either player knew of these payments, which were uncovered by the Todd Boehly's Clear Lake Capital Consortium when they conducted due diligence last year. The new owners reported them to the FA, Premier League, and UEFA. But this still could be sanctioned for the alleged seven-figure payments because they were not recognized as part of the club's original annual reporting, which means the club would be in breach of their rules. If found guilty, the Premier League could decide to impose heavy fines or a points deduction, despite the alleged breaches coming from the Roman Abramovich era. And I do think this is something that Chelsea fans should focus on. I do believe this is something that Chelsea fans should ensure that they are all over. One, everybody wants to make sure their club is being run fairly, They want to know that their club is being run with integrity. There is the sporting integrity of our leagues are kept, are maintained and are adhered to. And I think that is key here. And fair play to Todd Bowley and his group for reporting this. They didn't need to. It could damage their season. It could cost them millions of pounds, which would impact renewing contracts or buying new players. It's going to hit their bottom line at the end of the day. But they are doing what's right. And I do think that that needs to be congratulated. The club's statement is here, and it says that these allegations predate the club's current ownership. They concern they concern entities were allegedly controlled by the club's former owners and not related to any individual who is presently at the club. Chelsea FC's ownership group completed the purchase of the club on May 30th, 2020. During a thorough due diligence process prior to the completion of the purchase, the ownership group became aware of potential incomplete financial reporting concerns, historical transactions during the club's previous ownership. Immediately following the completion of the purchase, the club proactively reported these matters to all applicable football regulators. Now, I think what's important to know about this is Chelsea have reported themselves. So I believe that could help stop, just as we saw in the summer when they reported the FFP breaches and were fined. They found the issues, they reported themselves, and I believe that gives you a lesser sentence. And that works in criminal law. Generally, when people plead guilty, or hand themselves in and plead guilty, they get a lighter punishment than somebody running away or who pleads they are not guilty and then are proven to be. So the same often happens in civil matters and in internal matters, employment matters as well. So that's going to be very interesting to see how this works out for Chelsea. But the one thing it demonstrates to me, we move away from Chelsea Football Club, is that football needs a regulator. It needs a regulator that has the right to investigate and ask for any amount of information internal to that club to be released at any time. When you look at Man City's situation, UEFA and the Premier League have asked, they've got the leaked emails that have come from an ex-employee. So they are real emails. They have requested at times, and this is what I was told by some people I know very close to Man City, they have requested more information, more files, more documents, more emails, to which Man City, who have a legal right to, by the way, have said no to. I believe this should be scrapped. I believe that football should be regulated in a similar way to that the banks are regulated, where at any point the Financial Conduct Authority can come in and uncover any stone, go through any file, go through any computer to see what's going on. Because if Chelsea are finding these irregularities themselves, how many more other clubs do? How many more other breaches, offshore accounts, twisting and bending of the rules have taken place in the past decade? Not just at Chelsea, or allegedly at Manchester City, but at Manchester United, at Liverpool, at Arsenal. As much as people will want to get on Chelsea here and laugh at them, my advice would be you're standing in a glass house yourself, potentially. Don't start throwing stones. But I would welcome a regulator to come in who has the power and authority to say, you either give us access to all your emails, you give us access to your accounting, we are going to do a thematic review, we're going to go through every nook and cranny. If they refuse, that in itself is an instant deduction. That in itself is an instant big fine. But they have to do it. They have to comply because these clubs are agreeing to a set of rules. Now, if you don't like the rules, you challenge that in a different way. But if you agree to a set of principles, laws, and financial regulations that you are going to abide by, if you are cheating them through fake sponsors or offshore accounts or doctoring your accounts and your trading accounts, whatever it may be, if you are doing these things, there should be huge ramifications because you are cheating. And that cheating, that financial doping essentially, is giving your club an unfair advantage versus your peers. And there should be points deductions, there should be relegations, there should be trophies being stripped, depending upon the severity in the club. And I'm not suggesting here that Chelsea should suffer that. They've found these breaches. They'll be investigated. They'll probably soften the blow for reporting themselves. But I think football has to look long and hard now. And it's a multi-billion-pound organization. They can afford to set up this regulation, and it should be in place because there's too much of this coming out. And as I always say in life, there is where there's smoke, there is often fire. And there does appear to be a few a few of these fires going on currently. But as ever, look, people, I want your views and I want your opinions. What punishment do you think Chelsea should suffer should this be proven to be true? And if the likes of Everton and Chelsea are going to receive these points deductions for their FFP breaches or their breaking of the rules in terms of using offshore accounts to pay people, what of that of Man City if they're found guilty of just 20% or 30% or 50% of the alleged breaches they have broken? Where could they end up in the pyramid of football? I'd love your opinion. I'd love to get your thoughts, feelings, suggestions surrounding this story, because it's another big one, really. It hasn't really trended as much as I thought it would. Having read the article, I think this is massive. Let me know what you think below. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.